Happy anniversary, my N-word.
You
You have to
said
say it back.
you actually said N-word.
Nigga, happy anniversary, my nigga. So, we are 5 years into this beast, this behemoth of a relationship. And I thought I'd bring back the old original intros where I used to swear within the first 5 seconds and say the most politically incorrect thing that I could possibly ever say.
Yep.
So we can get demonetized in the first 5 seconds. We have been together for 5 years. I did a little post on YouTube in the little community post section talking about some of the changes that you've made. I also, posted on my forums with the same thing. I posted to my coaching group, so we probably won't cover all of that. But I love you.
I love you too.
Good shit for the last 5 years. Solid effort. I would say just doing a really good job. Keep that shit up.
Is this like a performance review?
Yeah. Well, okay, so that was, we're obviously keeping this light and fun and pretty casual today, but one of the things I did want to talk about is a performance review. So yes, I have brought you here in front of the audience. This is being live streamed right now.
Yeah.
No, but one thing that we do every year, we put it in our calendar on our anniversary, and we just celebrate the anniversary of when we first met, when we first had sexual coital relationships.
Yeah, there was no formal we're in a relationship now.
Yeah. I mean, we did have that talk at some point, like 9 or so months into the relationship.
Sure.
We were like, hey, let's be boyfriend, girlfriend. I think we've built enough now. I think we, feel like we're going to keep this train going. We both got tattoos, matching tattoos. I got one.
They're not matching. They're the same.
It's going to be hard to see mine.
There.
Yeah, you can't see mine, whatever. I have a tattoo and you have a tattoo, both symbolizing our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the date we celebrate. We celebrate the date when we first met. So 5 years. But every year on that date, we like to do a little performance review. And this is something that we recommend any of you that are in a relationship. And I'm not really talking about a casual relationship, obviously. But when you've been together for a year, a couple of years, and it seems like you guys are fairly serious, I would do a performance review every single year. And don't sit there and be like, hello, Sarah, like, come and take a seat, please. Like,
you sit opposite each other at a table and bring your notepad out and...
Yeah, you get your little fucking iPad and you get your little clipboard and shit. You're like, so Sarah, how do you think you would rate yourself in terms of sexual exploration? And she's like, I think I've done a good job. Okay. No, survey says no on that one. I think I'd have to rate you a 3 out of 10 on that one.
So that's not what our check-in is like at all?
But it's more just like a reflection on the last year. And we also like to reflect on the whole the relationship as a whole, like the past 5 years. And we'll go through and say, are we happy with the relationship? Is there anything we think we could improve? Like, how do we take this to the next level? What do we want to do for the next year? Like, what do we want to focus on? What things are we grateful for over the last year? What things have we done for each other that maybe we haven't expressed a lot of gratitude because maybe we didn't realize them, or we were just in the middle of being busy, and because we've had a pretty fucking hectic last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's funny that after every major thing that has happened, we're like, let's probably end of it. We don't have to deal with too many more big things.
There's always big things, motherfuckers.
Yeah, there is. I think the last stuff that we have to deal with are like serious illness for either one of us.
That'll probably happen at some point.
And
we're
like
ready for that. Yep.
Death of a parent.
Yeah.
Neither of us have had either, so.
Yeah. And so life is a series of big things happening. Yeah. But it's just a nice chance to reflect and sort of look at all the things that we've done, what we're grateful for. And like I said, focus on how we're going to build for the next upcoming year. And so the point of this podcast today, I guess, is more than anything to give you guys and girls permission to do something like this, again, when you're in a serious relationship, to really, in other words, take it a little bit more seriously. And that doesn't mean treating it like a business or something. Obviously there's love and there's intimacy and there's carefree and we're silly all the time, especially me. But it's about having a self-improvement and a growth mindset focus on a relationship, which I think like the vast majority of human beings don't do.
They kind of just exist in a relationship. And obviously we're making assumptions
Complacency.
About other people's relationships. I think the term that you like to use is keep watering your plants.
Yeah, and I think most people don't do that. Yeah, watering those plants, doing things like daily gratitude or weekly gratitude. We do a weekly accountability check-in where once a week we'll say like, are we happy with the relationship? Are we happy with what we did last week? How can we make next week even better? And if you guys and girls do something like this, where you do like a yearly review or a yearly, we call it a check-in. It's not really a review.
And that is what we're doing. We're checking in with each other regularly to see how we're going, what we might want to work on, maybe what we're not so happy with, just so that we're constantly making sure that we're both happy with the situation.
And the mindset that I would go even further than that, and I'd say it's not so much a chance to say if you're happy or not. It's more, how do we take this to the next level? And so the mindset we want you guys and girls to have is not like, are we happy? Is everything okay? Like, no. It's, how do we take this to the next level? How do we level this thing up? And be constantly thinking, and that doesn't mean you're dissatisfied, but be constantly thinking, how do we make this even better? Like, this is already good. How do we make this fucking epic? So always have that growth mindset.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're aiming for excellent.
Yeah.
We're not just aiming to be okay in the relationship.
Fuck no, I don't want a relationship that's just like the average relationship. Like, go fuck yourself. The average relationship is like, you get fat, you get lazy, you don't appreciate each other, you spend less and less time with each other over time, you resent each other at times, you communicate less and less, like, you don't understand the person, you see them as holding you back. Like, that's just the average relationship. There's a reason the divorce rate is like 70% in Western countries. Like, because they're not thinking, nobody's explained to them that, like, this is allowed to be a self-improvement project. Like, in other words, when you guys have been together for 10 years, you probably want it to be better than it was at the start. I think the vast majority of people, especially because of like Hollywood and books and movies and all of that and TV shows, their relationship is shitter over time, and they miss the glory days, and they're like, I miss when we were young and carefree. And
obviously, because when people first get into the relationship, there is
emotions.
Novelty, there's more hormones happening. Like, there's a lot more happening at the start of a relationship. It's new, it's exciting, it's fun. And that's not going to keep going forever. Correct. And so something else more important, more valuable needs to take its place.
Yeah, which is
building. As that feeling disappears, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that we do in our check-in. And again, you guys can just copy some of these questions, or you can make up your own questions. But really just all you're doing is you're going into it once a year and just saying, ideally on your anniversary, how do we take this to the next level? Like, what do we do for the next year to make this even better? And be thinking like growth mindset. Be thinking year on year, we want to improve this thing. We want to increase this thing. We want every year to be better than the previous year. Not just like continuing the status quo. It's like, how do we have a trend upwards? And it can be a gradual trend. We're not saying you have to do crazy, amazing shit, but just a little bit better.
And ultimately, when you are in a relationship where you are really happy and you really like what's going on, there's not going to necessarily be massive, big changes that need to happen.
No, it's just like, we're on a good trajectory. How do we keep this going?
Like, what are more things that we can do that would be fun, that would bring us closer, to make more memories together? Mm-hmm. It's like adding icing on top of an already very good cake.
Yeah. So some of the things that we talked about yesterday and we talk about every year, I think probably the most interesting stuff we talk about, and the questions that we ask, and you guys can have these questions written down. We do. I just have it as a calendar reminder once a year that has all the questions listed in there, so we don't forget. We don't have to go and find them, and we can just add and tweak those over time. One of the most interesting questions, I think, or the topics we get into are like, what are the deal breakers that we both have? Like,
has anything new come up? Which is interesting. That quite often, because we're changing so much as people, the things that we want do become quite different. Stuff
does change, yeah. Part of a relationship is growth. And we're going to sit down and do a series of relationship podcasts about advice that my mother gave to me. My mother gave me some God-tier relationship advice, and we're going to record probably like maybe, 5 or 10 of those. One of the God-tier pieces of advice that she gave is, you will both change, and you have to be okay with that. Like, the people that you are as like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you will not be those people when you're 25, let alone when you're 30, let alone when you're fucking 50. You're not. You both change radically. Some of your big principles even change. Some of the things that you're passionate about change. You fundamentally change. You have to be okay with that. We don't have to be, but like, if you want the relationship to be amazing, be okay with that. If not, that's fine. You probably split up.
Yeah, there's obviously a world in which maybe the differences or the changes are too big.
Yeah,
and then you become incompatible,
okay,
and that's fine. But you can't get into a relationship expecting that somebody's not going to change, or getting upset that somebody changes drastically over the period of many, many years.
Absolutely. And so you were going to say.
I was going to say, and if you are in a relationship where you're seeking out a growth mindset, you're seeking improvement, that's going to be the catalyst for a lot of big changes. If you are constantly improving, you're going to be changing a lot more than the average person.
You are killing your inner loser.
Yeah.
every week, basically every month. Like the people that we are, we've gone through this metamorphosis, and we've talked about this many times. Who you were, you, Imogen, when I first met you, you are radically different now. You were way more submissive to the point where you would just say yes to everything I said. And I never even had to think about anything. I'd just be like, hey, do you want to do this? And you'd be like, yep, yes. And so it was very easy. And I think I did a decent job of being responsible with that so-called power. I think I always tried to do what was in your best interest. I'm a libertarian at heart, so I never want to make anyone do anything. But as the relationship has evolved, more the point as you have evolved as a person, and I have helped you and you have helped yourself, increase your boundaries, increase your ability to say what you want, increase your confidence, increase your self-love, all of that kind of stuff. You're now at a point where you regularly say to me like, hey, is it okay if we don't do that? Or hey, listen, I'm not sure I want to do that. And so there was an adjustment period there. There really was. And I could have hung on to the old and said, man, I miss when you were just submissive and you just did. It was so much easier. Like I miss that dynamic. But it's about being willing to adapt with this stuff and say, hey, look, I'm going to just fall in love with you every single day. This continual process of I'm going to continually fall in love with you. That's another thing that my mother said, and I'll do some advice on that. Love isn't just like a once and done thing. You don't just fall in love when you're 18, 19, 20 or whatever, and then just you carry that on. Because you're both evolving and changing so much, especially like you said, if you're into self-improvement. You have to understand, like you will literally become a new person maybe every year, every couple of years. You will metamorphosize, and that speeds up the more into self-improvement you get. Like, what I mean is, at the start of your self-improvement journey, maybe you become a completely different person once every year, once every 2 years, right? It takes you a little bit of time to get some momentum. When you're further along, like when you've been into self-improvement, like I have for like 8 or 9 years at this point, you become a radically different person every fucking 6 months, every 3 months, to the point where friends that you saw 3 months ago are like, bro, what the fuck happened? And you're just like, I don't know, man, I'm in the self-improvement train. Like you have to play catch up with people and explain to them everything that's changed. And so if you're in that hardcore self-improvement mindset like we are, you absolutely will fall in love, or if you want the relationship to continue, you kind of have to fall in love with each other constantly. Like, okay, I see this new version of you, I'm going to fall in love with that. Probably the best example of this is when I first discovered Byron Katie and David Hawkins, all these, stoic philosophers and people who teach you to let go and not be so negative and all of that kind of stuff. When I went through that process and started caring more about enlightenment and started telling you, hey, look, I think my main goal is to just be loving with people. I think I just want to make the world a better place. I think I don't want to be so selfish. I don't want to be so ego-driven. There was a lot of fear from you because you were like, holy fuck, what if you become this Buddhist monk and you realize you're letting go of all attachment, which is basically Buddhism. And that is a goal that I'm very passionate about. I want to get to a point in my life where I'm not attached to anything. And that was fucking terrifying for you at first because you're like, but what if that means you're not attached to me? Where does that leave me? If you're sitting there saying nothing matters and we're all going to die and blah, 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 where the fuck do I stand in that? And you had to fall in love with the new version of me, this more hippie, more loving, less forceful version of me, more like laid back and chill hippie version. That's a completely new person. That is not the man that you fell in love with.
100%. And there was a lot of fear for me, for a bit of context at that time, around you saying that you're caring less about money, less about working, less about getting new clients. And for even more context, we had quite a bit of debt at the time and still do. And so that was stressing me out because it felt like maybe that wouldn't be addressed and maybe we wouldn't be pursuing financial goals, which then limits all sorts of other things like travel and living situations and things like that. So there was, certainly a hell of a lot of fear around all that stuff.
And then the flip side of that, I wanted you to let go of a lot of your shit around money. You weren't fully able to. And so then part of a relationship is, okay, we have this problem or we have this challenge or we're at this like crossroads. We're at this point where I'm seeing things one way, you're seeing things a completely different way. How do we solve this problem? Like, how do we solve this together? How do we get through this? How do we make this work? And what I then said was, okay, I'm going to put some of the, not enlightenment, but I'm going to temporarily stick that to the side. I've written it down. I'm going to come back to that. I will focus on making money. I will push the coaching. I will go crazy. All the stuff that I've done over the last couple of, 2 months. And I will sort of meet you in the middle more because you're not ready to catch up to me yet. And so I think that's another thing that you do in a relationship is sometimes one of you will catapult ahead at such a rapid pace in any domain. It doesn't really matter. You'll catapult ahead, and the other person goes through this process of like, fuck, am I going to get left behind here? Or like, what does this mean for me? Because I'm not ready to join you on this thing yet. And I'm glad that you're doing that. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. I don't know if I'm ready to join you there. And so, you got several options, but the one that we picked was, okay, I'll put my hand out and I will help pull you up to me. And yes, that means that my journey will take 6 months extra, but that means you get to come with me. And so it's absolutely worth it. Like, why the fuck wouldn't I choose to do that? And you don't have to choose to do that. But these are the kind of things that do come up in a relationship. People call them compromises. I don't like that word. I'm really not comfortable with that word. I'm not going to compromise and use that word. I think it's more a choice. It's like, I want you to come with me. I want you to be there alongside me, and you won't always be perfectly there. Like, we are in a relationship where I am 12 years older than you, but I will make that choice. Like, that's worth it. You do the pros and cons list in your head. You say, is this worth it? Is this what I want to do? Not what I think I should do, but is this what I want to do? And you go, yeah, sure, let's do this. That doesn't even feel like a fucking compromise. And I see this a lot where people say a relationship is a compromise, or you have to make sacrifices. And it's like, I don't think so. You might have to make priorities.
Yeah, you edit the decisions that you make because there's another person to consider.
Yeah, so you're just factoring in more details. I don't think that relationships have to be compromised, and I really don't like that framing of it, and I will rally against that and push back against that for probably the rest of my life. I don't think a relationship has to be compromises. I don't think one of you or both of you have to be unhappy. I don't think you have to make sacrifices. I don't like that. I will say the same thing with children. How many parents say you have to make sacrifices for your children? No, you fucking don't. You have to prioritize your children. That is different. You're doing that because you love your children, because you want to be a good parent, because it might give you some ego boost, or it might make you feel proud of yourself, or you love your kids and you want to give them the best life. That's a choice. That's priorities. That's not a sacrifice. A sacrifice makes it sound like I'm cutting out my own fucking heart so that I can give you a heart. It's like, no, motherfucker. Like, you get to just pour love into them. You win in that, and so do they. So framing is so unbelievably important. I know we're getting a little off track here, but I just really want to underline that because I think it's important. I think a lot of people in relationships see it as this, like, I have to be unhappy sometimes, and if it wasn't for you, I could just go and do this, and because of you, it's like, no, motherfucker, like, you're allowed to leave at any point.
Yeah, and if you're framing aspects of your relationship as negative, as hurting you, as you're saying, a sacrifice, that's not going to be helpful for the long-term success of said relationship.
Because you'll fucking keep count.
Yeah, and it's going to breed resentment.
I think I just broke the audio temporarily. Whatever. We're not going to fix that. I can't be bothered. The point of this was to be a pretty chill, casual podcast today, just pouring a ton of value into this and not worrying about how perfect it is. So, you were saying?
Don't tell yourself that your relationship is a burden or a sacrifice, or that you have to give up things that you want, because that's just going to hurt. And so
yeah.
I know that you, Andy, and I can too, be a bit pedantic about language. But I think the reason that is because the stories that you tell yourself are so important. So important for like how you view life and view things and how you feel about things. They hold a lot of power.
The entire structure of the entire goddamn relationship is different if you literally just change one word. If you say relationships are about sacrifices, then you're going to enable and even create your own suffering. Because you literally just said that's what it is. It's what I have to put up with this shit. It's like if you said part of relationships just means that sometimes your husband beats you. You will then fucking engineer that, because then if he ever does yell at you, you're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, this is what I deserve. In fact, I should probably even egg him on so that he does hit me, because that's what a relationship is. Like, it's that. Whatever story we tell ourselves, we then engineer that into reality. We do, because we're saying this is what it's going to be. This is, like, you're literally casting, I've said this before, words are magic spells. You cast a magic spell on yourself when you say this is going to be suffering. You then make it fucking happen. You bring it into reality because it's what you expect. And so if you change that one little word, sacrifice or compromise or, any of that shit, to just choices, like options, like I have a choice. I either prioritize them or I prioritize myself in every moment. I'm just making a choice. I'm really just making a choice. And you're only ever making the choice that benefits you. When I put you first, and I don't think I massively put you first, but like when I do something that is for you, I'm doing that because I feel good. I'm doing that because you have shown me unbelievable loyalty for the last 5 years. And part of my principles and part of what makes me able to look myself in the mirror every night and say, I love you to myself is rewarding the people that are loyal to me. I do the same with Cam. I do the same with all of my friends. I do the same with my family. It's like, if you've been loyal to me, I will fucking go to the ends of the earth for you. But I do that for me. I'm not doing that for you. And so it's not a sacrifice or a compromise. You're doing it because you want to. You're not doing it because you think you have to. Oh, I have to make sacrifices in order to keep the relationship. No, I want to make this choice because I love them, or because it'll benefit me, or because I just want to see them happy. That will benefit you because they've been good to me and I want to pay that forward because then I feel good about myself. I can lay my head down on the pillow and feel like I'm happy. So yeah, you're doing that shit for yourself. Yeah. Should we loop back to...
Yeah, I was just about to say, so ultimately, if you are in a long-term relationship or intend to pursue one at some point, one, we recommend checking in with each other, and we do a formal check-in not only weekly, we also do one on New Year's and on our anniversary.
But the anniversary one, to be very clear, is about only the relationship. So the New Year's one, we talk more about our both of our individual paths.
And goals.
And goals and like a reflection on the year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess on top of that, what we started discussing was that how you frame your relationship with your words and how you talk about it and the decisions that you're making are also very important. And it helps to watch the language that you use when you talk about being in a relationship, especially like a long-term one, because there's all sorts of loaded language when it comes to relationships, like the ball and chain and like...
Hey, how many times have you heard this bullshit? I know I'm sort of taking it in a slightly different direction. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
If any of you say that, I'll fucking I won't do anything. I love you all. But I'm just going to roll my eyes. There you go. That's my big loaded threat. I will roll my eyes at any of you that I ever hear say happy wife, happy life. And it's like, what? Is your wife like a fucking beast that's just going to pull out a fucking sword or something and stab you if you she a big goblin that you're afraid of? Like happy wife, happy life? Like what the fuck is that shit? How about happy husband, happy husband's life? Happy wife, happy wife's life. It's your fucking responsibility to have your own happy fucking life. Why are you sitting there oh my God, please, mistress, please don't be upset. Oh my God, please, can I go out with the boys this weekend, please? Please, can I see my friends? Oh, please, can I do anything, please? No, it's just not a good fucking mindset. So what I wanted to circle back to was some of the questions that we ask. I don't think we fully covered the part about the deal breakers. So because we said, you change every year and you're just constantly changing, one of the check-in questions that we do every year is have any of the deal breakers changed? And most of the time it's the same. It's don't cheat on me, which because we're in a different dynamic to the usual monogamy, cheating would be if I went off and had sex with another woman without telling you, which at this point, I said we had this conversation. We've had this conversation 100 times. It's why the fuck would I do that? I would just say to her yo, you're hot. Do you want to fuck me and my girlfriend? And if she said no, I'd be cool, we'll just go and do that with one of the other girls. What the fuck would I get out of cheating? That would just be insane. And same from your point of view. You're Jesus Christ, look at all this stuff. I mean, I'll let you just say it. I shouldn't be speaking for you. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, there's no world in which I wanted, to me, to cheat on you, and our definition of that is me sleeping with another man. That's just something that I don't do. It would mean the death of the relationship. It ends after that point. I'm sure maybe there's a world in which either, we could recover from either one of us cheating, but I think most people when they cheat don't think I'm going to keep doing this and this is, this is great. I'm going to stay in my relationship. This cheating, it's not a big deal. I think you're kind of acknowledging that the relationship is ending.
You're blowing up a relationship. It's like the nuclear option.
And so the idea of doing so at the cost of what? At the benefit of having sex with someone, just the pros and cons of that seem so ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense as to why I would fathom doing that.
Especially because we have a pretty open communication relationship. And, you know, if you ever did want to sleep with another guy, it's like we would talk about it and we would come up with a solution. I don't know what the fucking solution is. We would sit there and figure it out. Like we've figured everything else out. And so cheating, like having sex with someone without telling me, and me doing the same thing, having sex with a woman without telling you, would be like, why the fuck did you do that when we could have just talked? Like, and maybe we still even would have gone ahead with that if we'd just talked and made, like, who knows? Like, it's not a situation that we've been in so far, but like, it would be insane to do that when we've solved every other problem. So that's what we call cheating. Anyway, that's getting slightly off topic. Yeah, so one of the things that had changed when we had that conversation is you said to me, and I don't know why you brought this up, because I swear we've already had this conversation a lot of times. You were like, what if I met a girl, like at a bar or at a club? Like, would you be okay with me sleeping with her? And I was like, yeah, like, as long as you're happy, like. So anyway, the point is that like different stuff comes up sometimes and you say like, hey, I don't know if we've fully fleshed this out. Would this be a deal breaker for you? Like, what about this? And most of our deal breakers stay the same. It's like, don't fucking abuse me, like hit me. I've said, you know, don't disrespect me in front of other people, but you are the last person on the planet that I could ever imagine doing that. You have not said a bad word about me basically since our relationship started. Like, and so it's like, why the fuck would you do that, let alone in our friends? But that's a deal breaker. Don't have sex without talking about it first, like, you know, sex with other people. One of yours is like, don't get into a relationship with another girl without you there. Like, what you mean by that is like, Andy, I don't want you to go out with one of the girls that we're seeing and build a relationship with her.
Yeah, like build an intimate connection.
Yeah, like build a proper relationship.
Yeah.
And even that one, and this is what we talk about when we say, like, you want to check in every year because some of these things relax. You're much more relaxed on that now. Like, I have spent time with the girl that we're seeing right now. Intimate time. You've known about it. Like, we've talked about it. Like, I had that day where I had, like, not road trip day, but I spent the day with her. You were going to come, but you weren't feeling up to it. So I went by myself. We went to museums. We hung out. I cuddled her for a bit in the park. Like, we've had those moments, and I've even said to you, you've had like fucking 3 days with her by yourself, and you guys have made out and stuff like that, but it's not like super intimate. It's more just like going on adventures. But the point is that one is relaxed, and you only know that shit because you talk about it. And so these yearly check-ins are a nice chance to say, hey, before, like a year ago, we kind of had this idea of what the relationship was, or what we both wanted, or some of our deal breakers, or some of our wants and desires. Have any of those changed, or do we want to tweak any of them? And we've found almost every year we tweak like little bits and pieces. And so again, I think a relationship is an ever-evolving thing where you're constantly watering your plants. It's like a beautiful garden that you look after. I don't think you just like set shit in stone at the start and then go, none of this is going to change. It's like people change, you will change, your desires will change, the relationship dynamic will change, the external fucking world will change. We couldn't have predicted all the lockdowns and all that bullshit. That changed a lot for us in terms of friendships and what we wanted from life and
living situations and everything turned on its head. And life will constantly throw those things at you, and sometimes it can really help to have like a designated time to have those big discussions, because sometimes you just kind of go about life and you kind of forget that things
think
change.
Most people, fucking hell, I'm glad you brought this up. I think most people don't have a check-in like once a year. So yeah, life just kind of fucking keeps happening, and then 3 years later they're like, I'm unhappy. And it's like, why didn't you tell me this 3 fucking years ago? Because you weren't checking in.
Yeah, and often it's not like there's this big elephant that you feel like you need to address and you don't know how to. It's more that things slowly, gradually change. You readjust to them. It becomes the normal, and you don't actually take a step back to logically assess what's happening and whether you want to be more active in what is happening to change things, to keep things going in a certain direction and so on.
It's that analogy of the boiling frog, which, by the way, isn't true. So yet another like fucking lie that...
Is this the one where if you put a frog in a pot of water and slowly heat it up, it won't realise it?
But by the way, that's completely false. They've actually studied it, which is fucking insane. And the frog just jumps out when it gets warm enough. But let's pretend it's real, okay?
Who came up with that?
I don't know. Fucking the same cunt who came out with Schrodinger's cat. No cats were harmed in the making of Schrodinger's cat, though, by the way. If you put a frog in water and slowly turn it up, the lie goes that the frog won't jump up because it doesn't realize, because the increase in temperature is so slow and gradual that the frog just at each level goes, this is okay. So that's completely a myth, but it's relevant. I think a better analogy is the lockdowns and all the shit that happened in 2020, 2021, and 2022. It started out as like 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And as soon as that happened, the second they said that shit, I said to you, I said to my friends, so many of my friends said the same shit. It's like, fuck off 2 weeks. Like, this is going to be 2 fucking years. I bet you $10. They're going to fucking, here we go, totalitarian bullshit right now. And they're going to get you comfortable with 2 weeks. And then it's going to be this, and then 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 this. And then, yeah, who ended up being fucking correct? And we had so many people that were like, no, it's just 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what you get. And then next minute, like, oh, mandatory fucking vaccines, vaccine passports, can't come into this business, like all of that crazy shit. And nobody sees it coming. I mean, lots of us saw it coming, but the average person doesn't see it coming because they're like, no, but this little thing here that they're saying is very reasonable. And so maybe the next thing will be reasonable too. And it kind of like slowly creeps up on you. Same thing with unhappiness in a relationship. It's like, well, like we don't have sex as much as we used to, but I guess that's not the biggest deal. And they're like, well, my husband's like always working late and I don't get much time with him. But like, I mean, it's not like he abuses me. And these are little creeping, like, what's that fallacy? What's that thing? It's called, like, the slippery slope, which isn't a fallacy, by the way. People call that a fucking fallacy. The slippery slope fallacy. No, it's not. It exists for a fucking reason. Like, 2020, best example of that. But the slippery slope thing of, like, I'm a little bit unhappy, and it just keeps fucking creeping up onto you until you do get to that moment where you're like, or where people are like, I think I'm going to cheat. Like, fuck it. Like, why the hell not? Or I'm going to leave, or I want a divorce, or they have a big fight, or they just, sometimes it's even more, insipid's not the word, I can't think of the word, where basically they're in this unhappy relationship and they just accept that as the status quo and they go to the end of their fucking life and they're just not really happy and they're not really close and they're not really in a great relationship and just whatever it is, what it is. A level
of resignation where if something's gone on for long enough, it's like, can't be bothered, it's been shit for long enough and I've been able to deal with it, so I'll just keep dealing with it. Like, what's the point? It's
that quote, I can't remember if it's Ralph Waldo Emerson or if it's Henry David Thoreau, one of those two, they're both fucking amazing writers, who said the majority, was it Emerson? It might have been Emerson, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. I wrote an article recently, which will be out soon in the next couple of weeks, about how most people are comfortably uncomfortable, which is a concept that one of my good friends gave me, where I think a lot of people in relationships, they're uncomfortable. Like, they're not super happy, but they've resigned to it. They're comfortable. They're comfortable enough that they don't change anything, but they're uncomfortable enough that they're not fully happy. It's like something is missing. It's like in the Matrix, right? It's like, you know, something's wrong. There's like a little fucking splinter in your mind that's slowly driving you crazy, but it's not bad enough that you do anything to change. It's not like your partner fucking abuses you and insults you in front of friends. That would be easier to leave. It's that it's just not exactly what you want. It's almost what you want. And one of my other friends has a really good quote on this where he says, you can never have enough of something that almost satisfies. And I think that's the best way to explain a hell of a lot of relationships. It's like, it almost satisfies. They keep me relatively safe. They keep me sort of happy. Like, there's moments of happiness. I'm like almost satisfied by this relationship. So I'm just like chasing that fucking high, that moment where it clicks and we're super happy and everything's wonderful. You're so close to it, but you never fucking get there. And like an addict chasing a high, you're constantly just wishing the relationship would improve a little bit. Anyone listening, you have to take the action and actually fucking improve that. And I think yearly check-ins, if not more often than that, we do one a week as well, but that's a smaller check-in. That's more just like, how did we go this week? A once a year full-on fucking like, let's spend the entire day together and just talk about us. Like, if you got kids, fucking put the kids aside, stick them in a room or something, give them fucking
an iPad
or an Xbox cookies. And just throw cookies at them and say, hey kids, you fucking can't come out, okay? Mom and dad need to do some serious shit, you little losers. I love you very much.
We're not going to be parents.
Not with that attitude, not calling kids losers. I love children. Kids are so fucking cute.
You've also had a vasectomy, so...
Yeah, I don't want kids. Kids are adorable. They're the future and all that shit. Kids are fucking pretty cute. Kids are adorable. I just don't want to look after one. Yeah, anything else to add? This room has gone very dark. The light outside keeps changing. Now we're dark again.
We are dark again. It can be moody.
I tell you what we can do. Let's show people. So I have a playlist on YouTube. So just go onto YouTube and go to the playlist section on my channel. And just down here, there's a relationships playlist. I believe we have like 20 or 30, I don't know, a fair chunk of podcasts on how to build a relationship. So a lot more advanced than what we just talked about. Now, some of these are like, I won't say it. I'll say the egotistical thing, but as a quote, a couple of my clients and Cam said that this is my best content. There you go, humility. So I think it is honestly good shit. We put a lot of effort into it, a lot of love into these. So go and check those out. Any of you not in a relationship, absolutely, it's something that you can build. Let's make it very clear. We didn't just magically get to this point of 5 years. We fucking built this bad boy over 5 years. We put so much love, care, time, and attention into this. This hasn't just magically happened. I don't think you just wake up and magically have a great relationship. I believe it is something that you build. I take that from our experience, from my friends, definitely from my parents. My parents built their relationship. It didn't just magically happen.
Yeah, and if you are somebody listening to this who is not in a relationship, one, I'm impressed that you made it this far, but it's worth keeping in mind that it's a lot easier to, from the get-go, be building things than it is to get a few years down the track, not be happy, and then feel like you need to fix things. So
it's fixable, but yes, yeah. I 100% agree.
It's super helpful to have all of these concepts in mind when you start, when you're single, when you're looking to get into a relationship, so you can start with the best foot forward.
Absolutely. And if any of you are in a position, maybe you're in a relationship, can you, woman, not die on me? If you die on me in the middle of a podcast about our relationship, holy shit. So it would be a good, my girlfriend died in the middle of filming this. Gone wrong. Filming a podcast, gone wrong, gone sexual.
Gone very wrong.
Gone very wrong. If any of you are in a relationship or you're at the stage where you're wanting to build one, or maybe you're just in the early stages of a casual relationship, we would love to have you in the coaching program. We've coached a couple of couples. I have also by myself coached another couple. And what we've done with one of them in particular, I mean, two of them, but one in particular, you came to all of the calls and we worked with them for ended up being 15 weeks. And we just helped them really take the relationship to the next level and build it and use some of the skills and things that we've figured out along the way. We're not perfect at relationships, but I think because we have poured our heart and soul into it over the last 5 years, I believe, at least from the evidence of what I've seen, other relationships and all of that, I think we've done 20 or 30 years worth of relationship building in 5 years. Like I really mean that. We have spent probably every single week a total of 20 hours a week minimum. I would say minimum, working on the relationship, building it. This hasn't just been 30 minutes a week, let's talk. It's no, this is at the forefront of our minds, both of us, constantly. Because as we build the relationship, we build ourselves. And so the two are kind of interlinked. You're not just working on a relationship. We benefit when the relationship is better. And part of how we built the relationship is me going, hey, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you with your goals. What are your achievements that you want to have? What does success mean to you? Let's fucking make that happen. And then you've poured that back into me. I said that in the post that I made yesterday about all of the stuff that you've done for me. It's you have just poured so much time and effort and love and care. And I really love you for that, by the way. It isn't just a little bit of thing. We've put a lot of fucking effort into this. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, you want to sign up for the coaching program and just sort of have that attention and love put onto you so that you can then put that onto your relationship, we would love to do that. If any couples want to sign up for coaching, hit us up. We will absolutely work with you to make that happen. Like I said, we've coached 3 couples at this point to build a stronger relationship. Or if you're just a guy who's at the point where he's having a fair bit of sex or he wants to have more sex, but you want to ultimately build a relationship, we've worked with quite a few guys on that as well to build these relationship skills. I've had 2 clients now, I believe, that have gotten married after working with me on coaching, and I've taught them some relationship skills and stuff like that. So that's been amazingly humbling. I've worked with plenty of guys that are older and married and stuff like that. So we would love to have you. I will leave a link in the description to the coaching. The price on that is going to be going up. I just had 2 inquiries today, so I'm probably going to put the coaching up again to 10 grand. If you get in right now, I will give it to you. Anyone that inquires and jumps on a call and ends up going ahead, I give it to you at the price when you fucking inquired. So I would lock that shit in right now before it jumps up to 10K and then 11K. Like, it's fucking climbing. Jump in right now. You'll get it at that price if you pay. Anything else to add, young lady?
No.
My little bosom buddy. Look at this cute little girlfriend. Look at this nice little girl.
I actually got distracted by my little cat during recording and its little cute face. And I like the cat. And I like my microphone much better than yours.
I love you so much.
I love you too, even though you do
Is this
this
nice?
to me a lot. No.
What do these people need to do? You
need to
do
go
the
out
sign
there and crush your goals.
Wait, do it more. Once more with feeling. Come on. Go out there
and
crush your goals, everybody.
And tell Andy not to poke me, please.
Poke your girlfriend. So probably the best skill that I can give you for building a relationship is poke your girlfriend in the face. Hey, fuck you. Poke your girlfriend in the face constantly. Women love that shit. Women love being annoyed. It's really good relationship tip. I'm not even fucking joking. You know I'm not joking.
You are joking.
No, I'm not.